Free Your Voice podcast.
Welcome to the Free Your Voice podcast, where we are speaking, surprise, surprise, about public speaking. My name is Wolfgang, and today I have a very special guest. He was an actor, and now he works as a public speaking coach. So I'm very motivated today to uncover all his secret acting tricks he uses for his public speaking training. Welcome from the UK, Jonny Holden.
Hey, Wolfgang.
Hi, Jonny.
Good?
How you are doing? Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Man.
Okay, great. Jonny, let's dive directly into my first question. What motivated you and when decided you to become an actor?
So, I probably came to the game quite late, actually. I was about 17 when I thought, yeah, I want to give this a go. I know a lot of people are a lot younger, they've been on stage their whole life and all the rest, but actually I played a lot of sport when I was a kid. Not that I wanted to be a sportsman, but that took a lot of my time outside of school and stuff like that. And then there was like a local musical in my hometown. You know Oliver? Does anyone know Oliver?
Okay.
And so I auditioned and like got a little part in it or whatever, and just kind of did it. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And then didn't really think anything of it. And then a few years later, the same like musical society in my hometown did another one, and I got on board. And every time I enjoyed it more and more and more. And then there's this year, I grew up in Ireland, there's this year in Ireland that you can do, it's called transition year, where you do a lot less academic work, but it gives you a loads of free time to try different things and try different jobs and stuff. So I decided in that year when I was 16, I would do as many plays as humanly possible. And I think I did like 15 plays in 1 year. And by the end of it, I thought, yeah, I absolutely love this. And I grew up in Ireland with British parents. So there's definitely this folklore, mythology, storytelling culture in Ireland that I didn't necessarily grow up with in my own house. So I would see my friends, fathers and mothers tell these amazing stories about absolutely nothing of interest whatsoever, but they just did it really beautifully. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories with my life, and I want to step into the stories to do that. So yeah, I was about 17 when I thought, yeah, I'm going to give this a go, and then took a couple steps to make it happen.
Cool. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I think millions of people who dream of becoming an actor, and you just made it real. But what inspired you then to switch from acting to coaching public speaking?
I'd love to give you this like beautiful answer of where it was like always my dream and I always dreamed of becoming a coach, but I didn't even know what a coach was until 5 years ago, probably even less.
Okay.
And I had been working as an actor for about 7 years, job to job to job, was doing theater and film and a lot of radio as well. And then COVID hit, like a lot of people, right? And theater shut down, filming stopped, everything just stopped. So my whole income stream and career basically came to a halt. And I was doing little bits and bobs, but when things started to pick back up again, it just was not the same compared to what it was. I mean, 75% of the filming and TV industry and theater has still not recovered from pre-COVID. So it's like a crazy time. So I just had to think, what else can I do? And a really good friend of mine said, how can you do the thing without doing the thing? And I thought it was really good. And a friend of mine does something very similar, and she said, you'd always be really good at this. So I said, what is it? What's actually involved? And as I started to look into it and see what it was about, I thought this really matches my skill set. It really matches what I'm passionate about in helping other people and using the skills that I've had, the career that I've had up till now.
What skills which you learned as an actor are especially useful when you work as a public speaking coach?
So many. So I went to drama school. I went down the drama school route, and we had two main kind of skills classes that we did on top of our acting classes. So one was movement and one was voice. So I spent 3 years learning how to use my voice well. And I think for pretty much the whole first year, we weren't even allowed to like use our voice. We just had to learn how to breathe properly. So breath is super important, tonality is super important, pace, pause, all of those things that I've used a framework to help clients with now. So there's a million things that I will not be able to articulate in a concise way in a little podcast, but it's invaluable to speaking, especially speaking on stage. There's there's so many tools and tricks, but it all starts with the breath. And if you never master the breath, if you never learn how to breathe, if you never learn how to use that breath in a bigger room, in a bigger audience, in a bigger stage, and learn how that's going to utilize your talk, then game over.
That's one thing I notice in my coaching when I have that part when we work on voice, where people most enjoy.
It's just giving you an awareness of how great a tool your voice is, and looking at the range of everything that you can do with it. But I firmly believe if you practice those things, whether it's doing sirens or pitches or learning where your voice is in your mouth, learning how your accent affects how you speak, how's that going to translate to different audiences, all of that, you have a very, 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 very useful toolkit.
That's the thing. I mean, how did you get people, especially CEOs or high-level managers, out of their comfort zone in these cases?
I think always showing someone the why, especially someone at that level, in terms of, if you want to call it power, influence, finance, whatever. A lot of their drive is going to be, why are we doing this? Is it making us more money? Is it giving us more coverage or marketing or whatever? Is it getting us out there? So if you can tap into that, and every client's different, right? Everyone's slightly different. Like, what's the why? What's the why for this particular client? Is it to make more money? Then tap into that. Is it to influence a certain audience? Then tap into that. Is it to find an audience that is outside what they're usually doing? Then tap into that. And I think if you always show them where the benefits are going to be, then they can really start to play with it. And I think if a lot of us, I think hard work pays off for a lot of things. If we kind of go, I can see the goal, I see where I want to get to, right? And I think with those type of clients, anyway, I find figuring out what motivates them, and and driving that session or type of coaching to what their ultimate goal is, then that's how you can really tap into that, I find.
Where do you see the biggest challenge for your clients you have usually? I mean, are you working usually in groups or more one-to-one? And where do you see nowadays the challenges?
Yeah, I do a bit of both. I do group and one-to-one, and also speak myself.
Yeah.
I do speak and gig myself. So I love the dynamic of a group. I think that's really fun. I also think people get to see feedback from each other, and once they start to notice things to look out for, it makes them aware of what they're doing before they even get up and try something. So I love the dynamic of a group. I think the more brains in the room, the better. Always, always, always. But I think on one-to-one, you can really, really, really pick apart, what someone's good at, where they need work, how we can work on that together, whether it's structuring or using the voice better, or learning how their face works or their body works, or how to tell stories better, all of that. So yeah, I like both of them. But that hasn't answered your question. What was the actual question?
The question, no, it has answered part of my question. Thank you. It's all fine. No, it was about where you see the biggest challenge. I mean, we cannot say, well, everybody has the same challenge, but what do you usually encounter as a challenge for your clients, or as challenges in general?
I think a lot of people want to know how to structure. I work with super, super, super intelligent people who know their topic really well. And this is what I always say to my clients. I say, you're the expert in your topic. I'm the expert in how to deliver it, right? And I think people overcomplicate it with really clever, beautiful slides, but actually it becomes a distraction. People just go straight into their talk without really introducing themselves or having a clever hook or story or question or challenge to really get the audience engaged. So I spend a lot of time working on intros and closers, a lot. And I think a lot of it's an eye opener to a lot of clients. They go, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Oh, I see how that works." And research has shown that if you don't get your audience in the first 30 to 60 seconds, like it's basically impossible to get them back. It also shows that if someone remembers your talk, the bit that they're most likely to have remembered is either the start or the finish, or a story in the middle. So I always work on those things for quite a long time, even though they don't actually take up much of people's keynotes or presentations, because they're the things that leave a lasting impression. And I often think when people get into the groove of talking what they're an expert on anyway, it usually flows relatively well, and you can peak techniques and structure and work on stories and things like that. But I would say they're the biggest challenges is getting people to understand how important that is, how you open and how you close.
People just try their best. I mean, they open PowerPoint and then they say, okay, I'm an expert on whatever, and actually the content is good. I mean, they know what they are talking about, but they don't know how to reach the audience with that content.
Once you learn those skills as well, that's for any type of communication, whether that's interviews or conversations, or just like there's so many transferable skills that you can take from it. It's interesting. I was speaking to a young guy who lives near us. He's like 17, and he was about to finish school. And I said, "What's one thing you wish you had learned in school that you never learned?" And he said, "Public speaking and communication." Really interesting.
Yeah, because it's such a basic skill. And as you said, once you learn it once for one presentation, that's what I do in my coachings. I mean, I have 6 sessions and then it's over. And of course, people can come back, or they can do other courses, or they can go to Toastmasters or whatever. And I always recommend that. I mean, this is a journey. This is not just one thing and then you are done. But when we talk about structure, I think after that coaching, everything is pretty clear. So you do that coaching one time, and then for your next presentation, you have it, and for the next, and for the next. I mean, you have it for your whole life, and you can always use that kind of structure. It's another thing when we talk about delivery, body language, voice. Of course, you can always improve. But having this kind of basic structure and understanding what is actually the goal of a presentation or a speech, this is the magic. And as you said, for many people, it's an eye opener after that kind of coaching. That's my experience too.
And I'm also like, my company is called Act 5 Coaching, right? So it's based on an Act 5 structure of storytelling, which is famous within films and TVs and novels. Like once you know it, you will spot it in every single movie you watch. But I'm also someone who just try something. Like try something new, and if it works, then cool. Like why not? I never want to be someone who said you can only structure something within this framework. If you find something and it works, then fly with it, go with it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm talking about things like when you say start with a bang, and that could mean start with a bang. I mean, or start with a pause. You have to get their attention. And as you said, I mean, you have these 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and after a few minutes, they actually decide if they are going to listen to you for the rest. That means you can have a strong hook, but then you always have to give them a promise. Why should I listen to you for the next 30 minutes? Give me a reason for that. And often people just dive into it, and then it's okay, but and then the brain automatically switches off, and then next second you have a phone in your hand. And
it's got me worried. Have we hooked people in enough and given them a promise for this podcast episode?
I gave you as a promise. I mean, this should be enough, Johnny. This should be enough. More than enough. Okay. Lately I had a funny discussion after I published a post about it on LinkedIn, which was about AI, how AI is evolving. There are so many things where AI is copying us already. There are already these fake videos. I mean, I tried it the other day, and it's really amazing how suddenly I spoke Chinese, and in a video, not only on voice. So it imitated my voice, and it imitated also my face and everything. And there was only one thing where you could see a little difference, which was the mouth. This is not perfect yet, so it maybe takes 1 or 2 years more, maybe, or less. What my post was about, that actually the communication between human and human will become even more important. How do you see the future in this field?
I'm as clueless as anyone else, right? Look, we just don't know, do we? And I think AI, not just for public speaking, but across the world, is, is a
No, of
kind of
course.
ubiquitous, ominous threat, right? I don't think it's a complete threat. I think there's much good that can come from it, but I'm slightly old school in that sitting down with someone across a table with a coffee is just one of the most beautiful things for me. To really connect with somebody and get to know them, and as well as being an actor, I retrained as a therapist as well. So I have a psychotherapy
Hmm.
background as well. And even working with clients online is never quite the same as being in a room with somebody and breathing the same air and having the same smells. And there's something that's really beautiful about that. And mirror neurons play a part in that, in terms of that's how empathy works. I can see you smiling, and it creates something in me that wants to smile. Or if you're crying, the mirror neurons in me
Mm,
are picking up the
true.
senses of what's happening in you and want to pick up on that. And I think AI will never ever be able to replicate that. And I think, especially in the UK and
Yeah.
America anyway, I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but there's so many events at the moment where there are a lot of
Yeah.
speakers. And I think people are craving that, because even though AI
Yeah.
is a threat or whatever, and we're all on our phones all the time, no matter how addicted we are to our phone, at some point we go, I need to put this down and just like breathe some fresh air or connect with somebody. So I don't know what the future look like. Although what I do know is that as humans, we innately crave human interaction,
Mm,
and loneliness is like off the
yeah.
scale globally now, because we think we have connection through
Mm.
phones, but we don't really. And so regarding
Yeah.
public speaking, I think it'll be okay. I don't know if you. I know you're in Europe, so did you watch Eurovision at all?
Actually, I was forced to, yes. But I watched only the last hour,
Okay,
I
so
think.
I've
But it
never
was
really watched it
crazy.
before,
Yeah.
and I just dipped in, right? And because it was in Sweden, they were promising that ABBA were going to come and perform, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they're going to come!" Like this thing, it was like an AI
Yeah.
version of ABBA, right? And it was so
Yeah.
disappointing. It was like terrible. Like it really was not the real thing. And I think things like that will just never be able to recreate being in a room with somebody and experience something live, which is why I fell in love with theater to begin with. So I think there will always be something
Yeah.
that we crave in terms of that. So I think public speaking will be okay. We just need to be innovative in how we approach it.
Yeah, we have to be innovative. And as I said, I think it will become even more important. I think people will even look for more live events. And as this becomes more important, especially your communication skills are, you have to be different to the AI. As you said, you have to be creative, you have to be innovative.
You know, I see this in politics now, and I'm not going to give away what side I lean on at all, but but you see across a lot of the world polarizing views, and then what happens is we become
Yeah.
ostracized from people who have opposing views, rather than what universities and governments were used for is debating those ideas and trying to be convinced of those things. But because we've lost that, what we're
Yeah.
also losing in society is how to communicate with each other, because we don't interact with people. We just live in echo chambers, and I think that's really really dangerous, not just for society but also how we communicate. So I think things like debating and getting around people whose opinions are different from yours, and learning to like calm yourself and just listen to even views that you think are the most horrendous, and then arguing, healthily in a way that's safe, is really useful skills. Really, really, really useful, and that comes from communication.
I'm a journalist too, and all this public speaking training helped me a lot to decipher how politicians are
Right.
communicating. And I mean, these are clever people. They know how to do that. And they also know how to, I wouldn't say manipulate, but yeah, sometimes people or just leave out things and not to answer the question and all that kind of stuff. And the cool thing about public speaking training is not that you learn to communicate better, but you also learn to listen and to understand what the other one is really saying and how he maybe tries to sell you something you don't want. So I think that's also a very, very important aspect. But of course, you have to be open to listen to the other person. And nowadays, especially in politics, this is not the case. It's just who shouts louder, and that's pretty. That's a shame.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. I really agree, and I think public speaking, and like you said, listening and learning how to empathy for each other is all part of that.
If there was one thing you would recommend, let it be a resource, a video, a book, for someone who says, hey, okay, I want to do that someday, but actually right now I don't have time to do public speaking. But could you recommend me something I can start with?
I would go to TED Talks on YouTube and watch as many as you possibly can. There is no perfect way to do this. There is no certain style that works that is better than another one. There are structures that are in place, but everyone uses different ones. People tell stories differently. People have different topics. And I think if you just watch TED Talks, because at the end of the day, it's public speaking, right? You start to see that there's such a wide range of how to do this. And I think if you're scared of it, you'll find somebody that you go, oh, maybe I could do it like them. Maybe I don't have to be Barack Obama or The Rock Johnson or XYZ, right? But you can learn to do it in a diminutive way. I watched, do you know Adam Driver, the actor Adam Driver? I watched a TED Talk he did. Right. It's like almost everything he does is against anything a public speaking coach would say, and it's phenomenally engaging. So I think just watch a million TED Talks and figure out what works for you. I think you can read a million books, and there's phenomenal useful tools out there and great coaches and great teachers. But I think just seeing the real thing in action is where you're going to learn the most.
This is a really good tip, and I support that tip. Okay, Jonny, where can people find you if they say, okay, I would love to have a one-to-one coaching with Jonny?
So they can find me on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn the most. So you DM me, find me on my page, Jonny Holden, public speaking coach, Act 5 coaching. So yeah, come along to my LinkedIn, engage with me and say hi. And if I can help you, I'd love to do my best.
Thank you very much, Jonny, for being here today. I hope to see you again someday on that podcast, or maybe you someday will do a podcast. Who knows?
Watch this space. Thanks for having me, man. It's been great to chat.
Thank you, Jonny.
Cheers, man.
Bye.